Took my damn sticky note down. I gotta give me another sticky note. Anywho, y'all, I'm back with the Capricorn. Uh, I'm back with the Capricorn monthly readings for September. I said I'm gonna upload these on the 22nd when we get ready to go into Virgo season or whatever the case may be, so they'll already be pre-recorded. Using my computer necessarily though, because I said I didn't feel like saving storage, like I said in the Cancerian type reading necessarily, though I really did. So, but I said I'm using the numerology cards like I had did before, and we necessarily gonna pull from there, get a couple cards out, and then we're gonna see what comes out, what's going on with Capricorn for the month of September or whatever, because I was prompted to go ahead and do them or whatever the case may be. And I was like, shit, I just upload them all at once. Okay, first card out. You got Don't Let Your Pride Get in the Way, which is full moon in Leo. This ending Leo season transitioning to Virgo energy. Virgo energy, the version of the zodiac. Now let's see what else comes out for Capricorn. You got You Are Good Enough. Oh, enough to them. Right. All right. That's a lot though. You got a new romantic cycle begins. It came up in Cancer reading though, so I don't know if y'all messing with cancers or not. It's a time to give rather than take. You have it's time to release negativity. That is jealousy, anger, and resentment. You have your dreams need a practical plan. Practical plan. Over here to the side, we got conclusions are within reaching. You got new moon in Scorpio, which work through your fears necessarily. So we're gonna see what that's about though. All right, so we're gonna clarify all these. Let me scoop this shit to the side. Let me scoop this. We're gonna see. We're gonna pull a couple cards first, and then we're gonna clarify all of them. I'm gonna show y'all. Because I told you I ain't got it like that. If I don't like this after then I'm going to just redo it. I feel like I want to kind of do cancer reading, though, necessary, because my background was a little bit energy necessarily was a little bit off. So I don't know. I think I might read the cancer reading, like, after this necessarily, though. 'Cause, it ain't giving me like that, you know, just like this energy. So that's why I said I might read it necessarily. I will. I don't know. I kind of feel like it, though. So that might be my next one. I need to label these necessarily, though. All right. So let's go. All right. Put three cards on each, and we'll see necessarily what's rolling though. Sorry if you don't see me looking up necessarily though, because y'all don't see me looking up necessarily because that's because I'm trying to shuffle, whatever the case may be, and see what comes out. Three cards necessarily though. Then we'll see what's going on with each. We'll see three cards with each though. Yeah, I know I'm gonna have to redo counsel that way, so I'm gonna just have to make sure I get up early in the morning and make sure that I put y'all all the reading necessarily need to do that are necessary to being on this. Come on necessarily. Then boom. All right. First card out, we got Don't Let Your Pride Get in the Way, which is full moon in Leo. But you got Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, and the Seven of Swords. I think for some of y'all, it's releasing this sense of behavior, though, because the Queen of Pentacles necessarily, like you hear me say, the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands reversed, necessarily, they're not typical idea of friendly or friend type base. Pride getting in the way, Queen of Pentacles necessarily, when it comes to magic or earthly realm, spiritual type practice, or others necessarily, it's kind of like the sneakiness, like the sneaky callousness or whatever the case may be, because the Queen of Pentacles necessarily could be the mirroring type aspect. necessarily when you meet certain people to where like you can meet somebody that brings out your shadow necessarily not honoring it, necessarily keep going into certain type of behaviors though. Pride getting away, like you hear me say, this is taking things out of context. So the Queen of Pentacles can feel them necessarily because, oh, I know. Like you hear me say with that Capricorn type energy necessarily can be overly folly at times. Like when it comes to teaching lessons or learning lessons, necessarily wanting to be the master always and not the student. So this is the Seven of Wands energy where it said, "Don't let your pride get in the way," because the Queen of Pentacles can think she know, but she doesn't. The Queen of Pentacles is like the mirroring aspect. Again, I repeat that. It's somebody who necessarily it's the grifter she can take before she actually necessarily gives. So pride necessarily this could be the problem that gets in the way because the Queen of Pentacles feels entitled to necessarily. This is entitlement. You are good enough with the full moon in Virgo, with it releasing because you got Six of Swords, Seven of Cups, and the Knight of Wands. It could be communication process because the Six of Swords is like not going backwards. It's like in conversations, necessarily. It could be with the Seven of Swords taking things out of context but going backwards instead of forward. With the Knight necessarily, it's kind of like somebody who feels like it's a know-it-all with the Seven of Cups, so it feels like they have to have the last word feeling like you are good enough necessarily. This is like very top tier, lower vibrational behavior. So this kind of like when a person doesn't learn necessarily when to let something go, so they continue to keep doing something over and over and over again because they feel like their way is the right way. So I think going into Virgo season necessarily, I think that's honoring the parts of you feel like you are good enough because Virgos necessarily have this idea of perfection 24/7. They want people to live up to this unrealistic personality and it's not realistic. That's why the Queen of Pentacles is reversed. So I think coming up, moving forward towards ushering into the season of Virgo season is learn the parts of you necessarily to where you may mirror certain people and don't like it unknowingly. You got a new romantic cycle begins. It could be with you, self love, contracts, finding, figuring out, working balance, and all those different types of things. You got Six of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles, but you got the Eight of Cups upright. This is a relationship aspect where it's saying the giving. Just talk about receiving. So just looking at the bigger picture necessarily with the Eight of Cups. So if you want something new to start, you have to be willing to give into it and also learn. With the Eight of Pentacles, though, this is somebody that doesn't learn necessarily when it comes to emotional type matters, other people's feelings necessarily theirs to be able to build comfortably, to be able to walk away. Because I told you, you did get the Knight. So the Knight of Swords reverse is kind of like somebody who feels like they got to go backwards. And another motherfucking thing, always having something to say. And with the Queen of Pentacles being highlighted as somebody who never lets anything go because it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm pretend like I'm over it, but I'm gonna come back to it because you got two Scorpio parts here. So it's kind of like the vengeful and you have the Taurus energy here necessarily, so that's being equally stubborn and rooted into your ways. So that's why I say moving into Virgo season, I think it's going to be more of the season of self-reflection, how we expect people to be certain things that we are not. So working on those parts of us, or challenging us. You got it's a time to give rather than take in the new moon in Virgo because you got justice, you got Libra energy, power, and the Emperor. So this could be necessarily though like giving and take. So it's like the balance in between control necessarily. Like somebody you don't have to always be in boss type mode or always calling the shots because the Emperor here is in a position of chaos. Like the justice that's coming in, it's shaking things up for a person to necessarily be in a better position. Some of y'all, this could be the idea of needing to control certain things because it's Capricorn type energy, like the leader, like you see mentally. Tweets talking about I run shit necessarily though, but they end up causing more chaos. And it's like, like hear me say earth signs could be very apathetic to other people's feelings. So it's kind of like in the season ushering into Virgo season, it's kind of like seeing how you could be more relatable to humans necessarily and thinking that people should be your idea of perfect. Because you got the justice here with the tower and the emperor type energy. So it's kind of like understanding that everything is not always a power play. Everything is not always to cause chaos because it's your way of thinking how things should go. So it's like letting those exteriors go. It could be another person though when it deals with balance and certain things necessarily. Like don't necessarily when it comes to a give, it's time to give and take. Don't hand this off to somebody in this season, like necessarily if it's chaos and drama, I'm gonna pass it off onto you so you can deal with it. No. You put yourself in a situation when it's time to give rather than take. This is the consequences of constant taking on so much necessarily, and then having to deal with it, putting somebody in emperor type position. So make sure you're taking it out, and those behaviors necessarily working into Virgo season. You got it's a full moon in Scorpio. This is all about releasements, and it said release the negativity because you have Six of Wands, the Nine of Cups, and everything is fine. This is the Six of Wands energy, so that's kind of like frenemies. There's frenemies. That is a mob mentality. That is people who feel like they should push people into decisions that they should not. Nine of Cups, everything is fine. I had noticed that too. Like a lot has been coming up, like in Capricorn's readings, where I said, be mindful of certain things that people call on you for because they know you're going to do it. So, you know, it could bring out your higher self. It teaches you something necessarily of how like the Six of Wands is not nobody's friends, like trying to push somebody into something, dealing with a style of unhappiness that only comes back into the same way. Like you give it, you can dish it, but the same way the receiving card, any accountability. So it's everything is fine. Like necessarily working through negativity is kind of like in the season of like don't be in that Virgo type energy because Virgos do this like where they can be nice, nasty, and very passive aggressive cons to let people walk over them until they take it too far and necessarily and they always end up necessarily being the victim. So in this season you don't want to be the victim because you feel like necessarily what you are doing right or what felt right at the time and then having to fix it. We just rolled out of Cancer season. Like I keep telling everybody, we had 8 months to work on healing us. You don't want to be in the last of the batch where you still trying to clear up karmic debt and fix our situations with 2021 hit and talking about new year, new me, but you still got old baggage coming to the front. So that's why I said work through this, release this necessarily, even if it was dealing with unfairness, trying to trample over people, trying to rule people necessarily, even if somebody did this to you. So it's working through that because I'm telling you, you don't want 2021 to hit because that's going to be like a number 5 year. Because I told you last year was actually 2020. So we're going to move into that one. And then you're going to be like, oh shit, damn. Like I really don't want to constantly have to deal with these constant shake ups of energy because you have a lot of people in the season necessarily trying to control dynamics. Like outside of all your signs, like outside of y'all sign, you have a lot of people necessarily trying to do too much necessarily, and it's kind of like they're dealing with the blowback already, so they're getting a lot of resistance. So you don't want to create any more karmic debt or any debt necessarily in a financial aspect. So in 2021, you got to pay the Pied Piper, and you constantly dealing with certain things that you gotta shake. Okay, so you got your dreams need a practical plan, which is good because you got Ten of Cups, Seven of Wands, King of Wands, and the World. Ooh, I like this though because if it's like happiness, Ten of Cups speaks of not being necessarily satisfied. It can be emotional abuse, closing out certain things when it comes to happy. In the Virgo season, that's why I said be very mindful because Virgos necessarily can work to the bone and forget about everybody fucking else in themselves and be like, no, we're supposed to do this, we're supposed to do this. Like piggybacking off Leo season because Leos like to help too. With sister signs being Aquarius and then moving into Virgo season, you don't want to be in that season of where it's kind of like, oh no, we should do this and we have to do this to be happy, coming out very like robotic and only end up controlling certain things and aspects and then only see things from your perspective and only to be slowed down. That's why I say we're trying to complete, we're trying to move, we're trying to heal, we're trying to progress, we ain't trying to be stuck on some old shit. When 2021 hit. So that's why I said you need a practical plan when it's working towards family goals, ideal, your happiness, or other things. Like if it's needing to cut people out who don't serve you, who emotionally abusive. If people have to cut you out, that is okay. You got King of Wands too. Like if you want to cut out just necessarily unfairness, certain behaviors, if you feel like certain things are slowing you down or somebody feel like you slowing them down, it's okay. But it's necessarily needing a plan instead of just saying, no, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to talk to you no more. Like, no, it's like understanding why you don't want to talk to them and how you don't ever want to deal with situations like this again. That's what I said. Yep. All right. So let's see what's coming up the other day. I want to see this. We'll give you Rider Waite because I want to use two different decks for when I go back and I try to clean up necessarily when we go to the end. Because at the end, I'm going to read y'all the full moon in Scorpio and the new moon in Scorpio. Because I know one of them is about releasing anger Uh, it's like either it's like one of them though, releasing jealousy, anger, resentment, all those different types of things. The lower vibrational thing is Scorpio. 'Cause I got two majorly Scorpio cards, so necessarily. And who else? Yeah, like I said, don't be in that spirit though necessarily. Though. All right, so we're gonna see what else comes after y'all. I like this though because it's straightforward, it's to the point. That's why I'm reading the council. I'm gonna probably redo them tomorrow necessarily. So we just gonna keep it on moving up this train because I think each day I'm gonna try to knock out the fixed sign. So by the time the 22nd roll around, I can just be up at midnight. Knock the fuck out. Okay, dead ass though. I was like dead ass. It's the only way I can deal with it. Okay, let's see what else comes out. Any other missions that you need to know? Let's see. Ooh, bang, bang, bang. Bottom of the deck, you got Emperor. You got Queen of Cups versus the Queen of Swords being reversed. You got Two of Swords versus the King of Swords reversed. And you have the Temperance reverse as well. Some of y'all, like I said, with the idea that I have been getting for y'all, it's kind of like being called to be in a position of being reasonable. For some reason, it's like this month or these past couple of months that ain't been logic and like reason has not been working in necessarily for the both of y'all. Because with the with the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords, this is somebody like who brutally communicates to certain people, lacking the sense of capacity and tact to go with certain things. So it could be the up and down, and you do have the Two of Swords. So it could be the perspectives that you have of somebody operating with the shadow of the higher self and the lower self. I like how the emotions is up, the logic is down. It's incorporating both of them though, so it could be the opinions necessarily. It's like somebody talking about somebody behind somebody back. You do got Two of Swords again with the King of Swords being there too. So it's kind of like that divided loyalty, trying to call that truce type energy, but in a sense of a stalemate necessarily. So it's kind of like trying to get two people necessarily on the same page. If it is a relationship though, and dealing with a partner or commuting with other people necessarily. It's kind of like y'all kind of doing the mirroring thing necessarily when it comes to if you have air or associate with a partner when y'all communicate. It's kind of like both of y'all kind of do the same thing when it comes to emotion type matters. So both of y'all can be much tactless. So it's kind of like you can't get mad at one or the other when both of y'all doing the same thing. Because you do have the temperance. So it speaks of the lack of peace in the relationship necessarily. And I tell people all the time that fighting and argument shit get real cute when you're young and get in a relationship. When y'all keep that nut ass shit up for years and you trying to grow and y'all seeing counsels and shit like that, that shit don't work no more. Like it's like if you try to take it out, the relationship seems boring to people necessarily, to where people don't feel self-fulfilled, to where they seek cheating or necessarily doing certain things and find themselves in lower vibrational crowds because the arguments that necessarily goes on. So it's like somebody gets so accustomed to fighting and doing all this different types of shit that anything that's peaceful feeling to where we don't have to raise our voices and do all this shit or we can enjoy shit. It's like, ugh, this doesn't feel fun. So let me sneak and start an argument. Like that type of thing. That's why I said, we in that period because like sometimes rolling into that Virgo energy, you gotta catch yourself. You don't want to be around here trying to be too perfect and none of us are perfect. Like we're not. You got Knight of Swords as well. Again. That's what I said. You got Knight of Swords again. Knight of Swords again. Jesus. And the King of Pentacles. That's why I said, ooh, wee. Four of Pentacles in the world reverse. Yes. That's why I said you don't want to get up coming out of Cancer season, dealing with the shift, your sister sign, dealing with the emotional aspects, rolling into Leo, feeling the sun, feeling like, oh my God, this is a burst of happiness, things are growing, or this hot, tempted, and then go back into a situation of where we go into Virgo season and dealing with being locked in and stuck in positions of dealing with Earth, and you already are Earth sign. So you don't want to be too stuck in the idea of how things used to be or how things need to go for your satisfaction. So I'll say you got two knights. Because you got the King of Wands again and the Magicians though. For some of y'all though, it's like learning self control, like the idea of with magic necessarily. Because some of y'all, when it comes to magical aspects though, especially when it comes to financial gain, especially with clients, some of y'all gotta learn how to say no. Any idea necessarily when it comes to magic, because some of y'all have no self restraint. And like you don't want to get to a point necessarily where you like block yourself from spirit, because spirit necessarily with the temperance being there and that divine like thing, you don't want spirit to be like, okay, I'm sick of your ass and put you on a divinely type pause. And that shit is not cool. I'm saying, and now when spirit be like, we done with your ass for this moment, like, whoo, you don't want to experience that at all. I'm saying, I've been on the side of it for real, like that is. That's where a lot of people try to revert to black magic. Okay, because you got Ace of Swords though. I mean, Eight of Wands though. Like moving too fast. Some of y'all move too fast necessarily though. It could be emotionally reactive conversations, needing to have the last word, argumentative, um, money driven. Seven of Pentacles, and you got the double energy. Some of y'all are not, like you hear me say, a lot of those tweets when people are like, oh yeah, I'm rich, shit, Capricorn energy, da 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 da. Kind of like not necessarily great team players. So because you always hear me say the joke when I say Tauruses can be in the mind frame of well, like, yeah, I just bought this. Da, 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 da. You get what I'm saying? And then you hear me say Virgos will come along with the humble brag. Well, yeah, you know, I just got a jet. And then I say the Capricorns come along and be like, yeah, I own the fuel line. Like shit like that. Or the land that they land on, that's mine. Like that shit that Capricorns be so focused on because they can kind of be like Scorpios, like very plotting. It's kind of like in the mind frame of kind of like, oh shit, well, yeah, my friend's getting this, so da, 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 I'm gonna do this, so I'm gonna show them up, trying to be healthy competition, but also end up being malice, like enemy, frenemy type, where it's kind of like this not my friend, but I'm gonna just fuck with you because you got resources or you this. Like that's the Capricorn energy necessary that can be lower vibrational. So, like that going into Virgo season. Please do. You got Page of Pentacles with the Six of Wands again. That's what I said. Watch that though, necessarily though, like that though, because I think some of y'all don't necessarily recognize your own behaviors, like where it leads to a sense of self demise. Because like I always joke and say this, or I say Virgos be one fucking panic attack away from always trying to be perfect. And it's no shit though. You hear me say I drag all the signs. Even I drag fucking Scorpios necessarily though. Queen of self sabotage, much I have been there though. But I'm not anymore. But some of y'all do certain shit to get noticed. And being noticed necessarily, I think this is where some of y'all be in the mind frame where y'all really don't have the support that you have around you, whether it comes to friends or necessarily people. Some of y'all roll around in like necessarily bad crowds. Necessarily though. Oh yeah. Da, 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 da. Like that or whatever the case may be. I think that is too though. That's why I said this got something to do with the shadow though. Some of y'all ain't learning the aspect though. Y'all not. Eight of Wands and the Five of Pentacles go reverse. That's why I said yeah. It's kind of like this sense of approval though. Like you know how it's like, oh, I don't need this, da 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 da, but still needing the sense of approval for somebody else though. You got the Ace of Wands and the Five of Wands, Six of Swords. It's kind of like it's accumulating too much necessarily or needing to get too much because some of y'all may be too focused on the realm of the 3D, which is necessarily people and not necessarily yourself. Look at this, they feel. Not necessarily yourself. We got Three of Cups. You know, I said some of y'all may be more focused. You got Ace of Cups, though. That's why I said some of y'all could be more in the business of pleasing self that you necessarily don't. Have you ever seen like those little kids when you playing with them when you were young? And the mama let you go over to the house and they tell y'all go in the back and y'all playing with toys or I'm trying to give y'all an example. You playing with some toys. They say, oh, okay, well, let them play. And then one of those kids that come up and they get mad because you playing with something, but it's theirs, and they let it know that it's theirs. Like, that's the energy that this deck is giving me. So I don't know who does this or if you do that necessarily, but this one is kind of giving me, though, like that energy, like a person, well, it's mine. It's mine. And they don't know how to share. So that's where the Six of Wands and the Queen of Wands. And I say that though, I say Queen of Pentacles and Queen of Wands are not my friends. Like, that's not good friendship type people necessary because you got Ace of Cups and the Queen of Wands. I tell you, Queen of Wands necessary in the energy of doing certain things, the ability of don't be in a season of Virgo to where, like I said, I've been telling y'all and pre-warning y'all, don't be the person that's constantly getting called on, because if you don't know how to do certain things without the lack of approval or feeling like you get that stamp, you're gonna always feel like I gotta check on this. Like it's gonna be this type of energy where you're gonna be like, that's mine. Like you get what I'm saying? Because the Queen of Wands can be a smotherer. You got Ten of Pentacles though, so that's why I said, it could be some type of separation necessarily going on. I like a division with the Six of Wands, like with family or friends, because you got the Star here as well. So that's why I said, don't be in that. Don't be in that energy, please don't. You got Empress here as well, so don't be in that. Don't be in that energy. Don't be in that energy to where like you don't know how to receive, and don't be in an energy to where you don't know how to give. But you got Nine of Cups and the Two of Pentacles, so you don't want to be fluctuating between unhappiness, codependency. Do you see it? Can you see it? Or necessarily like don't fluctuate between those ideas. Because I'm telling you, Virgo season does make everybody feel like that. In September, everybody gonna feel like they need to just hit hard for some reason. Hit it hard. Even people who are in relationships. Come on, let's go on trips. Let's take this picture for the gram. Hey, like you ain't seen this bitch post this nigga in a long time. Like what's going on? Like that type of energy. Like yeah, man, I you still talking to this nigga. I didn't know you still talking to her. Like that energy, where it be revved up. It's hard to flip over necessarily. I'm trying to figure out. Huh? I thought it did. Wait a minute. We got Eight of Swords reverse. Yeah, I'm trying to pick it up. And the Three of Swords reverse. That's why I said don't fluctuate between those idea of being the emperor necessarily though. Like some of y'all being this empress, it could be with fertility or pregnancy or your roots or your thrones or like the parent or being self-fulfilled to where you don't have necessarily people who match you on that frequency. Don't get mad. Yeah, just get comfortable enough with you. Like you know what I'm saying? Just get comfortable enough with you necessarily to where you don't get mad because of don't get mad because you don't have the lack of support. Some of y'all got comfortable in environments where you should not. So this could be with friends, lower vibrational type people who are having problematic type behaviors where the Six of Wands came out twice. For some of y'all got comfortable with people who do not serve you or should not be in your life in the first place for a long periodic time. Because you got Page of Swords and the Justice. That's why I said, yeah. Some people came into your life and threw you off your game. They really did, though. But some of y'all, it could be like a karmic type lesson, though. Because I told you I've been a lot of people, though, with connections that I have. And I'm like, damn, they don't act like this. And I'm like, well, I did see that shadow necessarily coming out. And I was like, okay, well, this is them honoring. I was like, I wonder if they're going to figure out. So you get what I'm saying? Just sitting back watching. I'm like, I wonder if they're going to figure it out that this is their shadow that's revving up right into situations that they once was disgusted with. Like, you know? And I don't say nothing, though, because it's not my room. Because I feel like, shit, what the fuck you do? You can do it away from me. So I don't know. I think that's it. Just want to come out right now. All right, okay. You got Three of Wands. No, you had Knight of Swords. You got Knight of Cups and the Three of Wands, though. That's what I said. Knight of Cups is all about the emotional, manipulative, sneaky, two-faced, sneaky, two-faced, necessarily one night stand, one hit quitter, sexual type interests necessarily for some of y'all though. Like this could be the idea of moving away. Like you hear me say from those lower vibrational type frequencies. I do feel like some of y'all necessarily got comfortable. Say for instance, kind of like the Mean Girls, because you do got the Five of Wands, and then you got Virgo type energy, and then you have the Wheel of Fortune. That's why I said for some of y'all this is a karmic lesson, recognizing and honoring the shadow, because you got the Fool here necessarily though. For some of y'all ran out. And when I say y'all ran out meaning my terminology, like you doing too much necessarily and you about to get cut off. When I tell somebody, okay, you running out. You're running out. That's that cue to where like I'm gonna get disrespectful for people who don't know. So that's what I'm like, you running out. You running out. When I start saying you running out, that's when I'm like, when it's my turn, I'm gonna get real disrespectful. So I don't know if you telling somebody this or necessarily that. But for some of y'all, this is a karmic lesson of connecting, because the Hermit and the Wheel of Fortune is walking away with wisdom and understanding and inner knowing. So that's why I said it's kind of like finishing that. That's why I said we wrapping shit up for some of us who've been on a path to learning and knowing ourselves. Like we don't have to stay. We don't have to stay in places trying to be the fixer, because you got strength in the Seven of Cups. So that's why I say you don't have to stay with people who didn't grow with you, who didn't get your mind frame. I always say learn how to tame your lion. So if you with people who necessarily put you in a space of where you roar all the goddamn time, we're trying to show a sense of dominance. Necessarily, it's being clear that if I'm with you all the time and I'm always in a protective type mode, how am I always going to come save myself when I'm too busy trying to defend or protect? So, like I be telling people, in the same time, when people take time to come off their porch, they fail to recognize that somebody else sees their weaknesses. So that's why I say be mindful you don't get caught up in the season, because I've been telling y'all for the last past 3 months. Watch who you help, watch who you call on, unnecessarily in the season, because the lesson behind it necessarily. Because I tell you, I think that's more of the ego thing of like the Capricorns as they go through necessary. I got it. I can do it. Da, 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 da. Like they wanted to show me up. So I think that's the ego thing that's going through in the months of what month is this? August. Eight of Pentacles. That's why I said some of y'all don't pay attention. Y'all don't. I think that's what it was. That's why I said necessarily though. People connecting to ideally though. Because you got 7 of Cups, I told you that's clear. That's emotionally burnt out. Oh, I said teamwork. That's why I said don't be in that mind frame though where you complain always about, ooh, folks ain't helping me, they ain't doing this, and look at you doing the same thing to others. Like learning and projecting the same thing. That's why I said it's called to wrap this up. If you see it, you know it, end it, be able to move on and learn from it. Don't sit in that energy, complain about the energy. Then when 2021 come around, you still uncomfortable with certain shit that you need to learn, because it's like, hey, you should have wrapped it up last year. We're off that. So that's why I said some of y'all recognizing that you just don't fit. Could be with people and the idea of like your relationship, your pattern, like how you love, who you love, necessarily a style of relationship and commitment. Some of y'all is better communication, because I said some of y'all in this funk where y'all argue and talk to each other so much crazy that anything, if you want to go sit down with anybody else, it's kind of like, why the fuck y'all here? Like, you get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that energy. You got judgment in reverse. That's why I say, yeah. Some of y'all with the earth energy, y'all don't know how to let certain things go. Cause it's like y'all resurrect clear. I'm not done. I told you that night. I'm not done. 10 of Cups. It is like somebody got to be able to let go. And the Lovers. Somebody has to be able to let go of the idea and take accountability. Exactly what it is. Is that the 8 of Cups reverse? No, it's 9 of Wands. That's why I said vulnerability. Whew. Yeah, that's why I said some of y'all are so accustomed to just arguing, going about certain things over and over and over again, over and over and over again. But when shit feels good, you get emotionally clear. Because 7 of Cups is being emotionally clear, emotionally burnt out, get bored. Man, I don't want to do what this fucking council say. Fuck this shit. You don't want to go into the teamwork. We're going to do this our fucking way. And then that's where this comes in. Well, I did this. Da, 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 and they don't understand. Da, 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 babe, I did this. And then y'all roached up on each other. Resurrect the fucking past. Now all y'all sitting around there where y'all ain't happy as hell. Going into the 10 of Cups. Then you got the Lovers reverse where it's no accountability. And then damn, everybody hurting everybody. Hurt people. It's the wounded warrior. It's not wounded, but it's open. It's a stab, it's a wound, constant reopening a wound, and now you sit around looking at each other and ain't learned from the past. Yeah, that's why I said we gonna need this to wrap up before we move into Virgo energy. Okay, we need. And it's not even like you can get it done in 2 days before we roll into next year. Because you got Chariot, your sister sign reverse, 5 of Cups, and the 5 of Swords. Some of y'all this emotional mastery. That's what I'm gonna do. Cancer over. Because I think I fucked them up royally. I think what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'm gonna get up early and I'm gonna knock out all of them. Because Today the 19th. That's why I said I got 2 days to get it done. 2 days. Yeah. They'll be uploaded on the 22nd. But you got Care Reverse, which is just the same. And then you have the Five of Cups and the Five of Swords. So this could be in the space of where you hear me say not having the willpower to be able to get over certain things because you got the Five of Swords energy. So it's kind of like if things still necessarily hurt you, this is you in the place of not letting certain things go. So some of y'all are very argumentative to the point to where you don't care what you say. Oh yeah, I got my swords, fuck off. Like that type of energy of trying to be a collector of winning. Because you have the Four of Swords, though, like that collector of energy. Well, I don't care, and not caring about how you offend others necessarily. So it could be necessarily empathy, maybe the biggest thing that may be working on going into those months, like releasing and letting go of certain things necessarily. Four of Swords again. You know what's on the bottom thing, so Four of Swords again. Upright. That's why I said some of y'all necessarily be holding your holster, your weapon. Y'all say, "Oh, I let it go. It's no problem." But you can't wait for a rainy day to pull this shit out to fuck up somebody's day, or necessarily holding things over people's head when you know you necessarily probably do the same thing, demonizing people or trying to hold them to be accountable. That's that. Because you got Ace of Swords, and you also have the Emperor type energy, control, power play, manipulative tactics, Ace of Swords, truth, understanding, and learning what a new leader is necessarily. Though. Some of y'all gotta learn that. Though. All right. That's it, because you got Four Cups. Missed opportunities for some of y'all necessarily. Could be with friends connection with certain people that you may have missed out on. Alright. You got Eight of Cups, the Moon, and the Three of Pentacles. Walking away, understanding, and being able to learn. I don't know if you are though necessarily. This is learned behaviors because the Eight of Cups talks about the placement of the cups, the time that it takes for putting those in to be emotionally walking away from knowing your truths, their truths, the situations of a matter. Like this is getting all the facts when you're trying to heal and be able to move forward. Sitting in sessions a long enough time, it could be emotionally fed up or walking into what serves you though. Then you got Nine of Pentacles, the Two of Swords, Two of Wands, and the Six of Cups. That's why I said it's necessarily what serves you. What do you like? Who do you need? You know, though I said the decision is there. Don't be scared to necessarily choose you. Like, because the Nine of Pentacles, you may think money. For somebody necessarily think money, I think of like friendship, support, love, understanding, affirmations, knowledge, wisdom, all those different things before it even goes into money. Because then you got Seven of Wands and you have the Fool. That's why I said the Eight of Cups was there. So you can walk away to understand the lack of boundaries of how. So you won't allow this to come back in your life because this will folly get somebody. When a folly person, you can't teach them nothing. They necessarily be in the Seven of Swords energy where they allow any and anything that comes into their life because they feel like they know so much. So when they know too much, they can't learn shit. So they allow certain things to constantly breach them, like the energy where you hear me say, where people like, oh, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna sweep on somebody else though, so and get mad when somebody dump trash on theirs. Because the Seven of Swords does speaks of harassing people who constantly just let me come over there, like that type of energy though. So that's why I said there's some of y'all making a decision though, choosing you necessarily though. But we wrapping it up though. We wrapping it up. I thought we wrapping all the shit up for 2021, and we don't want to deal with this ever again. And it's not saying like just because you heal it, certain aspects won't come up. But when you heal it, you learn from it, you're able to see it and help those without a sense of control. As a teacher, not from an authority type space. Say, okay, you want to learn? Come on. Because I ain't see the hurricane come out now one damn time. Okay. Or did I skip past the bitch or something? We see the hurricane come out. All right, as we wrap this up, we're gonna go over it. That's what I said. One more time. You got full moon in Leo. I said, don't let your pride get in the way. You got Queen of Pentacles, Eight of Wands, and the Seven of Swords. Don't let your pride necessarily end certain connections or with people necessarily to where you don't recognize like the lower vibrational parts in you that we demonize certain others that we may have within ourselves. Recognize this, like you hear me say, the emotional tactics, the power play, necessarily needing to get shit done so fast and not understanding our own behavior. Necessarily don't become so folly in your own mind the way you think you're the only person that's necessarily right or dealing with people who think like that necessarily. Everybody got to have room to grow. You are good enough. That's full moon in Virgo. Six of Swords, the Seven of Cups, and the Knight. I said, this is what conversations. I said, shit starting conversations. Learning how to let something go and stop going backwards and being able to go forward. You gotta learn how to be able to go forward. And when you go forward, don't be the Knight because the Knight doesn't stay long enough to get information. She's gonna take off. That's their folly. God, supreme, risky, don't care, fuck off. Like, this is what I learned. Like, I don't give a fuck. So that's why I said, don't be in this space. You are good enough. Some of y'all are necessarily doing a lot because it's needing to be noticed. So that's why I said, needing to be fully appreciated by people. Or y'all could be dealing with somebody like that. I don't know. You got a new romantic cycle begins. New moon in Libra. Okay. You got Six of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles, and the Eight, where you hear me say learning how to give and also learning how to receive the Three of Pentacles. Like some of y'all, when it comes to certain things, and even if it is not what you want, you have to learn and look at the bigger picture because it may be for somebody else. Eight of Cups, that's like lack of emotional accountability, lack of emotional understanding. I don't care. I'm going to stay stuck in this position and I don't care. So that's why I said that's not starting new. Like that's not everybody helping. It's a time to give rather than take. Because you got justice, the power, and the emperor. That's why I said watch it. Watch it in that season necessarily. If you the person necessarily where somebody like, okay, this is this. I said watch it when you take on too much necessary that you don't give somebody else the bad of what you need to fix. Because a true emperor knows when they messed up and they have to fix certain situations. So that's why I said, some of y'all, this is what you have to do. Okay? So that's why I said it's time to give rather than take. Honoring that. Honoring that. Honoring that. You got it's a time to release negativity, full moon in Scorpio. You got Six of Wands, Nine of Cups, and everything is fine. So I don't know necessarily if this is the bully mentality, the frenemies needing to compete with the full moon in Virgo, necessarily energy, needing to release this energy and pretending that thing is okay, hiding resentment. Necessarily like hiding that style of resentment. All right. Last card out. Your dreams need a practical plan. That's full moon in Taurus. You got Ten of Cups, Seven of Wands, upright King of Wands, and you had the world again. Remember, a lot of your cards was double. So in situations that you possibly been going through divine. I told you, High Priestess ain't coming out. Not one time with a hair fun. That's what I said. Some of y'all are very folly by way of the highway. Ten of Cups, though. That's why I say emotional, manipulative, emotional abuse, cutting out, moving forward, controlling, and letting go. Some of y'all are very close-minded with the world necessarily being stuck in one way, like slow to be able to move, slow to do things, because the Ten of Cups necessarily, and I said, don't get in this Virgo season necessarily trying to get everybody to fit a narrative of your happiness when other people may be unhappy themselves. So I don't know if you have to tell somebody else this or necessarily say this, though. So that's why I said if you find yourself unhappy but you stay in toxicity, figure out what about the toxicity that keeps attracting you to it. So we gonna read y'all the motherfucking goddamn the stuff. We're gonna read I don't know why I've been shaking my head. I think it's cause like my camera slow and it got a glitch so like that. So it's funny to me. It's probably not funny to you though. It's funny as hell to me though. I'm laughing internally. Because I told you we're going to read Time to Release Negativity. And over here you had conclusions I would then read. I told you this is the full moon and eclipse. Full moons are for releasing. New moons are for calling in. So some of y'all got to learn how to see things for what it is. But with the eclipse, that's kind of like certain things is being hidden. So it's like you see it, but you don't. But some of y'all don't work on it because you feel like if it's an issue, like if somebody telling you it's a problem, you don't care if it's a problem because you feel like it's not. So that's what the eclipse type energy is. I can't see it. I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. So that's what somebody could be doing. Then you got to work through your fears. So we're gonna do new moon, full moon, and Scorpio. And we're gonna see what is going on. Let me see. Full moon. Which new moon? New moon. Okay. Which one it was? New moon. New moon. New moon. Work through your fears. We're gonna do that one first. Work through your fears. This card suggests a rebirth. Think of your situation as the phoenix that rises from the ashes, as the birth, the death, the rebirth paradigm. That's what Scorpio energy is all about. Whatever you've been through, there's a new start ahead. It might be a little dark. It's almost certain that it won't be rainbows and unicorn, but it will be deep and transforming. This card also suggests that if you know you're magical, then it's time to work your magic. It can also herald the start of a sexier time. If you've been experiencing somewhat of a drought and emotional intimacy, it's also on the menu. Scorpio is the sign that likes to get deep into the body and the mind and the spirit. So when this card comes up, there's nothing superficial about what's coming your way. Have some sexy time. Time to let go of a grudge you're holding on to. Move on from jealousy. Stop being obsessive. Could it be that you're paranoid? Make an investment. Scorpio is the sign of death, rebirth, and magic and shamans. Its energy is a little bit dark, occultic, even scary. Not all of us like to face the shadow, but Scorpio demands it. In fact, it's through working through your dark side that you can get to the light. The new moon in Scorpio and the appearance of this card at any other time suggests that you need. Now, didn't I say that though? One of y'all operating in y'all shadow and don't even know it. Let me put my glasses. I'm like, oh, okay. Some of y'all operating in y'all shadow. Don't be looking at my edge control on my hair, on my hair. Don't be looking at my edge control on my hair. Do I supposed to hold a card up for y'all? Wait a minute. Let's see. It's hard to release. I'm gonna hold the card up for y'all. Can you see it? Okay. If you can't see it, I thought this like bright as hell over here. It's time to release negativity. If you've been feeling paranoid and acting weird, take this card as a very direct message from the cosmos to stop it. Worrying yourself is pointless. It's time to release any negativity that you have around a situation you're asking about. If someone has been unkind to you, perhaps it's time for you to release them. This card can herald an emotional, intense time since both of the full moon and Scorpio themselves are extremely intense. It's time for you to feel all your feelings. There could be some nastiness in the air when you pull this card. If this is the case, take this as a sign to move away from anything or anyone you feel toxic. For some, however, this card is a total different meaning. Your sex life can improve. You make an effort, use your magic. You have all you need inside to bring about your desired result. Emote is better out than in. It's time to move on from living fearfully to living joyfully. You're right to have your suspicions. Grudges are toxic. Let something go. This is the end of an argument. Full moon in Scorpio has a sting in its tail and it can herald a vindictive end to a relationship. It can also be a time when we want to be good, but we're naughty. If you pull this card, no matter when your dark side and your shadow self may be showing, the full moon in Scorpio is a time of magic. If you were thinking of making some magic, this is your time to do it. Didn't I say that though? I said one of y'all operating in y'all shadow. And y'all don't even know it. I said that one of y'all operating your shadow, you don't even know it necessarily. And for people who necessarily come to the shadow, y'all probably like, oh my god, I'm a demon, I'm a devil. No, ain't nobody saying that. Let me take the scrap off, y'all. It's like, oof, I got this damn waist train on. But some of y'all could be operating your shadow or whatever the case may be. You know how like for if you could be Christian and sneaking and watching this, you know how people say, oh, it's the devil, it's the devil, it's the devil. No, you're your own devil. Like, you know, you got the angel of the devil on your shoulders. So it's kind of like you can be your own temptation to where like you let people come into you with lack of self-control in those type of moments. Because no matter how much willpower we have for self-restraint, we all get tricked out of our position necessarily. It's just learning necessarily why we got tricked out of our position. So on that note, you guys, Capricorn, I need to get my journal out. Ooh, I gotta pull this down. I gotta pull my journal out. Okay. So I'm gonna figure out um I think I'm gonna name this Capricorn. What I'm gonna name this, y'all? The Capricorn Shadow. I'm gonna put your shadow likes to dominate. Ooh. Yeah. So on that note, y'all, I'm gone. What's this? 49. I'm gonna put 50. Bam.